I felt really good about him. I thought he had a great week of practice last week, and only he's the one that can answer on how he truly feels. But you'd gotten the sense that it was really good.
Zach, is there a world where you would consider sitting Joe down for a week or two just to try to get him all the way back to 100% for the duration of the season?
I think, first of all, we got to hear what the doctors have to say before we start to assume anything. So once we get that information, we have those, figure out what we're going to do.
I think for certain, his availability for Monday is up in the air as of now. Correct?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say right now.
Jamar had said, maybe, he talked about, maybe the distribution of Zach and Joe. Would you go back and maybe do things a little bit differently? And you feel like the plan was still?
Thought we handled it well.
Same way?
Yep.
When you go back and look at the tape from yesterday, is there anything else that jumped out from how y'all played?
I thought there was a lot of positives. It really does come down to, in a 7-possession game, the turnover battle. So you're only going to get, a couple cracks at it, and potentially 14-point swing there in the third quarter. 4-point play, on a third down earlier in the game. They won a one-on-one contested. And so you look at those, there's some opportunities like that. And then opportunities to take the ball away on defense. Had a couple shots to the quarterback in the backfield. Had 2 sacks called back due to penalty. So again, those were, it's always a challenge when you're playing that quarterback. And thought our defense did some good stuff. Just got to find a way to get a turnover.
After the 0-2 start, how much, if at all, was it helpful to have the extra day of preparation?
I think it's good. Our team's in a good spot from a health standpoint. So whether this fell this week or week 8 or whenever it was, you just take it when it comes to you. So really, we get a little bit of bonus day. We're not on the field running around or anything. It's just above the neck. That's how this week will play out for us.
Any updates on Nick Scott?
No, he'll just go day to day through the protocol. Sore, I think, pretty sore.
That drive that led to the final touchdown, 16 plays.
Yeah.
You guys seem very deliberate in that, where the play clock was going down pretty late. Was that maybe giving guys a chance to take a blow because it was such a long drive? Was it issues getting the play calls in?
Which play were we talking about?
There were a few plays where the play clock got down.
Okay.
5.
It ended up being a 4-minute drive. 16 plays, 4 minutes. We were on the ball a lot with our one-word stuff. There was a couple runs there where we needed to get the run off, and so maybe that's where it was under 5 seconds. Obviously there's protection stuff we got to sort out.
It looked like Jamar was gassed after
they were. It was a long game, and I will say that it was a long game, 16-play drive. Down 2 scores for a good part of the second half. So, you're throwing the ball quite a bit because you have to maximize all your plays. And the receivers were running a lot. And so, to their credit, they made the plays that came to them and the opportunities they did there at the end of the stretch. There were times I looked up calling a play, and each one of them was trying to just get a breather. So there were some times there in the low red zone we were able to get each guy maybe one play off. But again, it's the critical part of the game, and you're trying to keep those guys out there to make plays, and so that was a challenge. That was tough.
The illegal contact on Cam, you look pretty upset about that. What's the mechanism for that? Do you send that into the league? I know there's no recourse, but
there's always a back. You submit your plays after the game, and you get the response.
It's just, I'm sorry, from the league is basically.
It's just a written, whether they agree with your assessment or not, and so you get a more formal review of the play.
Dealt with the defense's scheming to take Jamar away down the field, so you dealt with it for a couple of years. But are defenses doing anything different these first 2 games to take him away even more?
The first game I look at as totally separate, and so I know those will get lumped together. We had our own challenges in the first game. This last game felt like we got the ball where it needed to go based on the responses of the defense, and felt like we were really efficient passing the ball. Really of the 7 drives, 2 of them weren't efficient. One of them ended in, a third one ended in a turnover. And then the first drive of the game, really, we had a great shot. We got 6 yards on 1st and 10 to start the game. It's a great start. 2nd and 4, got 6 yards on a run, called back on a hold. So now we're in 2nd and 14. We got 6 yards, got back into it 3rd and 8. Then we were about a centimeter away from converting a good 3rd down that really jump-started the game for us. So Felt like we were really efficient with the drives, and if we could come away points on the turnover drive, you scoring over 50% of your drives, that's pretty solid.
Over the time you've been here, y'all have not really been a team that ran a lot of heavy formations with multiple tight end sets. Why kind of has that been part of the philosophy, and why is that maybe
We have 3 of the best receivers in the league.
Jamar just was talking about how he said all I can do is ask for more go balls when he was asked about his usage. I mean,
When was this?
Right now.
Okay.
I just heard before this. I know you just said throw the first game out, but I mean, with 9 targets, it seems like obviously it's a huge part of the game plan, and you guys are drawing it up for plays for him. So what goes into when a player says, I want more go balls? Like, obviously it's not as simple as that. So what goes into that when a player asks for that and you as the play caller get to decide how that works out?
Well, that's, as a player, you want the ball, especially when you're a great player. And that's what I appreciate about our guys is they always want the ball in small moments and big moments. And that's always going to be a challenge we have when you have the talent that we have on the team is finding ways to utilize everybody to their best so that we can win football games. And that's what we felt like we did yesterday. Jamar's made a lot of plays down the field for us. Baltimore knows that. and they're going to do everything they can to prevent that. And so we keep looking at different scheme ways to get our guys involved. But one thing you could tell yesterday, they were hell-bent on not giving up explosives. And so, again, that's part of it. That's why you got a 16-play drive there at the end of the game, because they're going to try to keep everything in front. They got a good front as well. I thought our linemen did an outstanding job in pass protection yesterday. There's a clip on the 3rd down where we were short of the sticks on a cover 0 where no one hit the quarterback. It was cover 0. They have more and more than we can have, and our guys fought them off, and nobody even touched the quarterback. So I was encouraged by a lot of things yesterday that way.
Given the daily conversations you have with Joe and having years of those, how much do you kind of lean on his level of answers, kind of maybe reading between the lines when he tells you how he's feeling, how he's not feeling, getting a true sense of how he might feel, in a situation like this?
Just take him at his word.
What do you put your finger on the amount of rushing yards you guys have given up in the first 2 games? Is it tackling? Is it gap responsibility? Is it? I know Cleveland got 40 carries against us, I think, when they had a 3-score lead. So that's a challenge when one of the best rushing teams in the league gets a 3-score lead and they get to lean on the run. And that's where some of those things crack open. I thought really at the point of attack, we're doing a good job. If you look at that game and then some of the bounce backs were where they got us. In this game, it's a new challenge because the quarterback, when he's got 50, he's going to rush for usually 50 to 70 yards. And those aren't even called runs sometimes, but they're going to go down as rushing yards, so it's pass defense where the quarterback has a chance to run with his feet. And so, I thought on the quarterback designed runs, we did a good job bottling one up. Is the scrambles is where, he probably got the bulk of his yardage. And so, again, it's 2 of the teams that have had more success rushing the football than as any team in this football league over the last 3 or 4 years. We got them the first 2 weeks of the season. And we haven't played with a lead, and that's complementary football. That's the offense not doing a good enough job getting points on the board in the first 2 drives to take that pressure off the defense, where now teams aren't playing with a 10-point lead. 2 great rushing teams that can then lean on the run. And so there's no overreaction for me in terms of assessing a rush defense when you look, because there's a lot of really good stuff there. And if we could play with a lead, which we plan on doing, then it really limits the other team's ability to just lean on the run like they have been.
What's the message that you kind of want to hammer home to players throughout the week as y'all get ready for this game on Monday?
Our character's strong enough to pull us through situations like this, and we've got 15 games left. That's the beauty of this league. And we've been in this hole before. We know how to dig ourselves out of it. We've been 0-2 in the division before. We've been 0-3 in the division before. So, again, those who put in the work and have the confidence and how we go about our business, no, it's the others that maybe don't see it all the way we do is where you're going to deal with the issues. But I think our guys have great resolve and look forward to bouncing back this week.
Week 3 last year, when you won the toss, you took the ball,
Mm-hmm.
tried to jumpstart the offense.
Yeah.
Any thought of trying that?
Every week's a new week in that regard. And week 1 was its own deal. You're going to sort through some of the nuances of new schemes you might see in all 3 phases. And then in week 2, last week against Baltimore, it's always going to come down to limited possessions. And so you really want that second half possession, which we got. We were in a good position there based on how it played out. So week 3 is its own thing. We'll look at the Rams and then assess kind of what we want to do as we approach that game.
Given the personnel they have, specifically Aaron Donald going this game, how much do you guys maybe take that into consideration on debating on if Joe should play on Monday or not?
I mean, every team's a good team at this point.
How do you assess Irv Smith for 2 games?
Yeah, Irv's a really smart player. It's really important to him. It's probably a centimeter away on that first third down of the game to really hitting a big play and getting things rolling. He's always where he needs to be. Again, I thought Kyle Hamilton did a good job on the cover 0 coming up and making the tackle, and Irv didn't really have a chance to get out of it. But he did a great job on the response there versus the look. And Joe put it right where he needed to be. And aside from that, we called some other plays where they took him away, where he was number 1 in the read, and it just wasn't there. And we moved on the progression. But, any courage, it's through 2 games, so you don't really want to assess targets and catches and all that stuff. But Irv's going to give us what we need over the course of the season.
Feels like Mixon's had some really good runs these first couple of weeks. How would you kind of assess that?
I think Mixon has played really well through 2 games. And you can look at, I noticed for certain the yards after contact, and a lot of that is a credit to the offensive line getting movement initially. So sometimes the yards after contact is just a arm, and Mixon's able to take that arm and drag another couple ball carriers 4 or 5 yards, 6 yards down the field. So I think up front, those guys have done a really good job. And I think that Mixon has done a really good job hitting it where it needs to hit and getting yards after contact and running with a full head of steam and making guys pay when they try to take him down. And again, unfortunately, we've been down 10 plus points in both the games we played, and so it becomes a different style game. But really, really pleased with where he's been for us.